Hello to everybody, it's Mark at Photon Catchers. This week we've got a bit of a change of format. I've decided to go completely unscripted, just to make it a bit more fluid. It's been very wet for the last few weeks, but just this week we've had one sunny day, so I decided to go out with the camera and see what I could find in the village where I live in Somerset. Although I took quite a few shots around the village, I've decided that I'm going to go through two particular shots with you, the entire process from setup to clicking the shutter, and then I'm going to go back to the office and do a full edit of one of those pictures. I am going to post some still images in the Facebook group and also on Instagram. Also, in the pursuit of amazing, I've recorded all of this on YouTube, so you can go to the YouTube channel at mhphotos-uk and see what's going on. So, let's get into the episode. Hi everyone, it's Mark from Photon Catchers. We're here to do an outdoor photo shoot today. We're doing it on video, as you can see, and also recorded for the podcast. So I was going to be doing a picture of this church in bright sunshine, so I could talk about the sunny 16 rule. It's gone and got cloudy while we were setting up, so I'm just going to do a picture and I'll talk about the sunny 16 rule first. So when we used to shoot on film in the old days, we had to be able to do our exposure properly. We didn't have digital screens to look at to see what we were doing, and we couldn't change things on the fly. So we needed to be able to expose and know that we were going to get the shot. So a sunny 16 rule was created so that you shot at f16 in the camera and your ISO and your shutter speed were the same, so they were called reciprocal. So if you shot at ISO 100, your shutter speed would also be 100th of a second. If you shot at 200 ISO, your shutter speed would be 200th of a second. Keeping the aperture the same, the f number, if you changed the ISO and the shutter speed both together, it should create the same exposure, whatever two settings you used. As long as the f16 was the same, it would always work. So anyway, that's what we used to use on film. Now we've got these newfangled cameras. We've got mirrorless with a LCD on the back, and we've also got an electronic viewfinder. We can see in that exactly what we're going to take because it's a live image of what you're going to actually capture, which is great. I'm using the LCD because I'm not looking through. You don't want to see the back of my head. The sun's just starting to come out on the church. It's a really cloudy, overcast evening now, which is a shame because it was really bright blue sky earlier. It seems to be getting a little bit brighter. So we're going to take a picture of the church. No shutter sound, mirrorless, electronic shutter. I leave it turned on to silent. I don't have any fancy beeps going off because I don't need them. I know it's going to take the shot. And also on this Sony A9, it gives a little coloured box around the image when you press the shutter. Only briefly, but it's there just as an indicator to show you that it's actually taken the shot. Right, so I've got this f16, ISO 200 and 1/200th of a second. Okay, it's gone cloudy again, so it's not really going to work. And looking over there where the sun is, it's going to be in cloud for quite a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually adjust this to get the shot I want. So I'm going to change my shutter speed to 100th of a second, and I'm going to put my ISO on 400, which is going to give me a nice exposed church and this foreground lamppost here, which says on it GRV, which is 5, 1910 to 1935. So George V with the dates that he was king. Very nice. I guess that would have been an oil light, probably not gas because there's no gas in the village. So let's take a shot. Why am I outside the wall, you ask, and not inside? I want to have some foreground interest, and this foreground interest is going to be this lamppost here. We've got the name of the church, which is St John the Baptist, and we might probably even have a gatepost just in the shot. I'll crop it so we haven't, because I want to have just the church and just the lamppost. Hi, we're doing another shot. This is the War Memorial in the village. It's opposite the church, which is behind you where you're viewing from. I'm going to do a shot down that path which has got walls, and it's going to have the War Memorial at the end of it through the gatepost, or through the gate posts, two of them. Why are we shooting down a path? Well, it's going to give us leading lines which draw the viewer into what we want them to see. We talked about leading lines in a previous episode. So I've got the camera set up. The sun's just come out, so the settings are going to change. The reason I'm recording this is because I'm going to put a behind the scenes on YouTube. So we've got our leading lines going down. The War Memorial's nice and bright. The problem is that it's too bright. So I'm going to just up my shutter speed to bring it back. And probably, yeah, okay, here we go. So I'm going to tell you the settings in a minute. I'm just getting the focus point on the War Memorial because that's what I want to be in focus. There it is. Okay, there's no shutter sound because it's a mirrorless camera. As we said earlier, mirrorless cameras are generally electronic shutters, which is what we want, and they don't make a noise. We did the Sunny 16 rule earlier, and that didn't work when the sun was in because it was too dark. The sun's out again, but I didn't use f16, I shot at f8. f16 gives us a much deeper depth of field. I couldn't think of what it was called. Depth of field. And the depth of field, when it's deep, means that things that are close to you and things that are far away are in focus at the same time. The smaller f number, which is a bigger aperture, gives us a shallower depth of field. So things that are close and things that are really far away are out of focus, and the subject is in focus. Now I want that War Memorial to be the focus. So hopefully at f8, some of this foreground is going to be slightly out of focus, which is going to draw your eye, as well as the leading lines drawing your eye, to the thing that's the focused point. And also, that War Memorial is the brightest object in the picture. So all of our attention is drawn, bright image, leading lines, focus. Three things that are making me want to look at that War Memorial. It's exactly what we want. Okay, that's our shot. You probably noticed that I dropped the tripod down so it was quite low, which is why I had to crouch. The reason for that was that I wanted the lower viewpoint so that we were down in the path and not above it, which is better for the sense of the height of the War Memorial. Right, so I'm back in the office and I've got my picture of the church taken from outside of the wall on my screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the develop module in Lightroom Classic, and I'm going to click on the auto button, which is going to give me a basic adjustment set to make it primarily visible. So because we've got lots of shadows in there, I just want to be able to see what I'm going to be working with. So that's good. Then I'm going to crop it to be square because I like square for social media use. The next thing is I'm going to do some selective adjustments. I'm going to raise the shadows in some of the places. I'm actually going to turn the lamp on, which is a great little thing you can do in Lightroom, and put in some light shining onto the leaves so that it looks like the light is actually on. I'm going to adjust the sky to make it bluer. I'm going to give it an overall adjustment on the white balance to make the image warmer. So there's lots of things going on there. It's going to take probably 6 to 8 minutes, I would think, in Lightroom for me to talk it through. I'm not going to do all of that in the podcast because it's obviously really visual. So just make sure you go over to YouTube and you can see this happening. Coming up, we've got the news in This Week in Photography. It's a couple of Nikon focused features today. First up, Nikon have teamed up with NASA. They're going to take a Z9 to the moon on the Artemis mission in 2026. This camera is going to be a different version of the Z9, which is modified for the lunar use with gloves, etc. It's going to be called the Handheld Universal Lunar Camera. It's the Hulk. It's going to be big, but it won't be green. It looks like it's going to be white in a special case. Nikon are going to create a special grip for this camera, which is going to contain some of the controls so the astronauts to use with their gloves on, shutter release, playback, still and video switching, etc. It'll also have a special thermal blanket to protect the camera and the lens, and it's going to have special firmware to take account of the different circuitry, and it'll have better noise reduction at lower shutter speeds. I can't wait to see the photos this camera is going to produce. News just in, hot off the press, Nikon have announced they're going to acquire US cinema camera manufacturer Red. Red make the amazing cameras that lots of directors and producers in Hollywood love to use. The Hobbit, although that was made in New Zealand, Jurassic World, The Amazing Spider-Man, all made with Red cameras. Red were formed in 2005 in California, and their amazing original Red 1 4K camera was cutting edge at the time. They now do an 8K camera. It would be interesting to see if Nikon start to incorporate some of the Red technology into their Z9 and future models. Well, that's our very brief look at the news this week, and now back to the chat. So the aim of this week's episode was to get out and about with the camera. I had a walk around the village where I live in Somerset, trying to find things I could photograph and talk about. So I did a recce the day before I planned to record. It was a really sunny day and the church at the end of the village was glowing bright in the sunshine. I thought, yes, this is it. This is the one. So the next day I set off with my camera and my recording equipment and went up to the church, and lo and behold, it wasn't sunny at all. It was very mixed, which was not great for trying to explain the sunny 16 rule, which is what I wanted to do. But never mind, we got there in the end. As I said at the start, go to the YouTube channel and watch the video. You'll be able to see exactly what happened and see the edit at the end. You can also see some of the still images on the Facebook group and on Instagram. I hope you found this week's episode useful and that there's something there for you. If you have, or even if you haven't, please leave a note at the end of the episode and let me know what you think. You can leave a voice note as well if you like. There's just one episode left until our photography show special. I hope you'll try to use the time before then to get out with your camera and get some pictures outside in the springtime. See you next week.